Welcome to the Kashtira Takeover. Make sure you guys smash the and grab out of that subscribe button so you guys don't miss out on more kind of thing. This is one of the most interesting YCSs we've had to see in a while. Only 13 Snake Eyes Azamina decks in your top cut. Huh? That's very, very interesting. Now, I went ahead and I combined the two Kashtira deck piles together. There was 6 Kashtira Fiendsmith, and there were going to be 4 regular Kashtira decks, choosing not to play the package of this, which is kind of interesting. I'm not like, I guess, set on the idea that you shouldn't combine those two together, because you really should. Like, you're still using the base theme of this, but you know, Fiendsmith is kind of that you staple glue it together. It's what holds it together now. And Kashtira had one of the craziest, showings out of this weekend, undergoing some of the coolest innovations that we have seen out here. Now, I'm sure we'll get the chance to see more of those tack choices come to light later in the week, and I look forward to seeing them. We also had 8 Yubel decks in Top Cut. This is actually kind of funny, because Yubel was pretty much presumed to just be like, it was like the 3rd strongest deck in the room, but Yubel was just kind of falling off over here into the sunset. The deck was just going to sleep. It really wasn't doing anything too crazy, and all of a sudden Yubel has returned back in to the competitive spotlight. I like that a lot. I'm extremely happy to report that Yubel is back and doing its thing. Now, actually running this up behind was actually Tenpai, with technically your 4th highest representation out here. I'm not surprised to see Tenpai, still holding on out here. The deck, OTKs like it's ignorance. All right, maybe in 2 weeks, we'll start to see a descent of power creep out of this. Now, Ritual Beast. I did not expect this one. Ritual Beast has been so far gone that for whatever reason, this deck just smashed back into this event. I'm kind of starting to think the Ritual Beast might be the European special at this point. You know, you have a high level of innovation out here, and people just don't know how to handle Ritual Beast. I think a lot of that surprise factor is still carrying this deck to this day. And then we also had 5 Fire King variations in Top Cut, which is very interesting, because typically the Fire King build has been surpassing Snake Eyes Azamina in a lot of representations at regionals. But no, this is the one time that we're seeing the Fire King build taking that leap ahead of action. All right, so now we kind of cross into what they dubbed as the other category. So we had 3 Centurion players. Hey, I'm not all that surprised to see this either. Like, Centurion is such an incredibly strong pile deck. It just depends on, I believe there was like a Bysteel combination. You had a couple of interesting piles going for that. We also had 2 Mermails. I'm happy about that, actually. We also had 2 Memento, 2 Chimera versions. Anybody really surprised to see that Chimera was representing out here? We also had 1 Labyrinth. Yeah, that should be there. Magical Musketeer, I think, was the biggest shocker out of this event. That's a good one. We also had 1 Voiceless Voice. We had a Salamangreat deck. We had Adventure Pile, the pile. And we also had an Orcust deck out here. Wait, Orcust? Yes, actually. We did have an Orcust pile actually doing its thing. Now we shift all the way up here into top 8 to one of the most diverse top cuts that we have had, with Magical Musketeer taking the leading fray. I like that. We also had 1 Yubel, 1 Tenpai, a Memento. Our Kashtira duelist definitely held out all the way through Top Cut, which was really, really good. Mermail, we even had Orcust, and even Ritual Beast. I thought these rogue decks weren't all that good. There were 2,500 people here for this event. And then your top 4 was Magical Musketeer, Yubel, Tenpai, and Memento. Oh, okay, so where'd the Snake Eyes decks go? Everybody, where'd all this shocking stuff go? Magical Musketeer came out on top of this event, which dictates a major shift in the meta today. away from a lot of what people were definitely expecting. And you know what? I'm happy to see it. Let's pass on over to those deck lists. All right, so leading us off here is Yubel Kashtira, and you know what? I'm not surprised to see that the Kashtira package was actually making a very, very strong impact in here, because Fenrir and Unicorn are stupid cards. Ray Sloth also doing some cheeky little things. But, also, Birth being able to control your opponent's graveyard is really, really strong. I think we're actually at the point now that Birth actually kind of being a disruptive card is actually finally starting to get a place in today's meta. Also, shout out to Crossout Designator being an extremely good card, but I think a lot of the action was just Desiree with Kashtira cards with like a slice of Yubel kind of backing it up on the side, just forcing your opponent to look at you and go, yeah, that's pretty good. Also, double Fool Wars actually in the main. There was a point where we were starting to see this kind of fall out of the format a little bit, but I see that we have now rushed back into the meta out here with a pretty strong return for this. But congratulations to seeing Yubel doing so strong. Ooh, hey, look, it's Kashtira. This is actually really, really hilarious to me, because this is just the purest form. This build is actually playing triple copies of Pot of Extravagance, though, because in Kashtira, you want to find those draw cards. You want to make sure you can get to those things you can do. But also keep in mind, look down here at this extra deck. You're going to notice something interesting. A lot of builds were playing the token generation so that you could get into the Heat Soul in the past to draw cards. That is not what we see here. No, we just have actual decent control out here doing its thing. And this event really did show that mid-range control was off of the charts, making its way all the way up through the top cut. I'm pretty impressed. Also, I mean, if you just draw your floodgates, you're probably going to win. Also, shout out to this card. I'm pretty sure, we're at the point right now, the Threatening Roar is just stealing some games that it has absolutely no business stealing. And that's actually wild to think about. Ooh. So this was our Fiendsmith Kashtira deck. Now, a lot of this comes down to a couple things. Fiendsmith and Paradise out here. Target a level 7 or higher, light fiend monster control. Send all other cards on the field to the graveyard that are not that monster. If your opponent's watch summons a monster monsters while this is in your graveyard, you can banish this card, send a Fiendsmith monster from your deck or extra deck to the graveyard. So we can drop down a Desiree here. And now we have a form of interruption against the opponent. The rest of this deck is just as many ignorant hand traps as you can throw into it to laugh and punish your opponent. Yeah, that's right. Also, we have Triple Dominus Purge in here, showcasing, hey, you get this card resolved, you're probably going to be in a really, really good position. We've also got Psyframes down here to kind of control your opponent, and a lot of Solemn cards to kind of bring up the back end out here. But that's just the situation we found ourselves in. Fiendsmith and Paradise definitely was a major contender this weekend. Oh, hey, look. You see a little bit of a shift here, too, right? You do see that, still maximizing Fiendsmith package. Hey, look, Ghost Bells, Veilers, Chills, Ogres, and then, of course, a 2-2 line with this, and then still focusing on the one copy of this. But the major thing here is free attribute increase, and, of course, another run-through on the power that Fiendsmith and Paradise is giving you. Now, this build also is doing the solemn big plays in here, but there was also this. We are actually playing Typhoon. I like this. We've reached the point right now that you kind of got to take a step back and go, hey, Typhoon being a hand trap is really, really strong. There's just sometimes you have to break through what your opponent's doing with Typhoon. It puts you into such a strong position overall, but these Kashtira variants over the weekend really, really, really showed their worth. We also have, hi, Mermail. How are you? I see this build is playing the Deep Sea Quell Can. I've heard a few people trying to cut this. I think the fact that this did manage to make its way into the top cut of a YCS, that we do need to return back to considering this card as a viable candidate for this deck. I see we've also got all of the Mulch armies in the world. Yes, this deck basically wants to make sure that it can get as much draw power as it can. Also, we are playing the One Pot of Prosperity in the side deck. Well, I mean, I guess if you need a generic filter card to get you into a decent place, or, you need to board into something, maybe you have a dead card. this is probably going to be a safe call, actually. Outside of that, playing 42 cards is very, very nice. I think 42 has been the solid number that we've kind of found Mermail kind of going to right now. Kind of like is its little safe space. So outside of that, there is not much else to really say about this. Congratulations to Mermail for shaking things up. And then we also have, I guess it's just not a video without seeing the action of Tenpai Dragons smashing through the metal. Only one Dark Hole, only one Raigeki. Huh? I mean, I guess. Sure. We're doing 2 Tactical Thrust and 1 Talents in the main deck. That's so weird. Like, okay. We are citing the Drago. That's pretty normal. I do see we are doing 2 crossouts down on the side deck with the triple Heatwave. That's fine. We are also doing a pretty extensive package down here because this build wants to try to be able to link climb, you know, get into the Promethean Princess, get the free extra revive if need be. This is actually pretty solid. Most of these utility options are looking pretty good. But outside of that, I mean, that's Tenpai for you. Actually, that's your YCS in general for you. Definitely, I'm looking forward to seeing the Magical Musketeer list when it does come out. I look forward to seeing what all innovations that this format actually had. But please, leave a comment down below. Tell me what you guys think, and I'll see your beautiful faces back here later in the day, guys. Patrons, thank you.
Thank you so much for watching. Check out these other videos.